Chevy, it's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective. And find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Presented by 417 Navigator, 417navigator.com. Lyona, Leverage Local 663, Great Southern Bank, the Bank of Billings, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, and Doak Propane. And we welcome you to our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athletes of the Week. If we go to the Class 1, Girls State Champion, Platte Valley Longhorns, and head coach Tyler Peterson. Coach Peterson, hey, thanks so much for setting this up.
Yeah, I really appreciate the coverage and having the opportunity to be on here with you.
30-1 this season. Kind of put a bow on the season from a head coach's standpoint.
Storybook ending, just a great season, just a story of girls, working hard and early, kind of coming into the season and setting some goals and then working and overcoming all kinds of adversity all the way throughout the course of the season. And then, then realizing those dreams and goals in the state championship game. But just a special run, special group.
Coming into the 2023-24 season, what did you have to replace due to graduation, or who kind of stepped up, and what did you lose off last year's team?
Well, we've been fortunate enough to play or make it to the Final Four. We've, had players play in multiple state championship games. And so even last year coming into this season, we lost a lot of experienced players who were on that stage and, had success on that stage, and lost leaders. We've been very fortunate the past several years to just have phenomenal leaders, girls that, can find a way to help their teammates feel comfortable in those high pressure games. So, coming into this year, we knew that things were going to have to be a little bit different than what we've been. We'd lost one player who played a lot of point guard for us. Briley Angle kind of took over that last year, some for us, but Sarah Langford played point guard. So, when you're replacing someone with that kind of experience, that's always difficult. But we lost some size as well. Aubrey Matson was about probably 6 foot, and her and Maggie last year, they kind of had that inside threat that teams really had trouble matching up with. So we lost a lot on the floor, but I think the big question in my mind coming into the season is how are we going to be defensively, and what kind of leaders were we going to have? And I just really feel like this group of seniors in front of me, Briley and Maggie had a lot of big game experience just from past seasons. Christina Turpin and Callie Redden here to my left, they were players that they've had more of a role that year before, but I got leadership from all 4 of these girls.
Take us through that District 16 tournament. You get a Northeast Nottoway, then a West Nottoway with Nottoway Holt. A close game in the district championship with West Nottoway. Tell us about that contest.
Yeah, West Nottoway, they just present a lot of matchup problems. They have good players, and they've been very competitive in Northwest Missouri for several years now. They were Class 2 last year, and we found out early in the season, whenever district assignments came out, that they had moved down to not only Class 1, but we found out they would be in our district. And so that was just one that, I guess in our minds, that was a team that we needed to circle as one to beat in our district. As far as that game goes, we had played them a few weeks earlier, and just a little background information. About midway through the season, then towards the end of January, Briley Angle, who's a 3-time, we found out today she's a 3-time All-State player. She had played point guard for us, and we lost her to an ACL injury. So we lost her to a season-ending injury, and we kind of took a step back, I guess, team-wise there, but just kind of kept just getting better and working to improve. And so coming to that district championship game, we've been playing a few weeks without Briley, but we knew we were going to have other players step up, and we really did. The girls came in extremely focused, and just with the matchup problems that Nottoway Valley present, we're going to have to do things right. They've got several quick guards that can shoot it really well, but then they also have a center in Ava Graham, and I noticed today she was named to the All-State teams Anyway, she can score inside in our area. She leads the area in scoring and rebounding, but just a matchup, problem. Or she definitely takes a lot of attention. I feel like it's a team effort, but Maggie Collins, she's been a player for us that I feel can guard any position on the floor. We've put her on opposing point guards. We've put her on Ava Graham in that game, definitely. And just defensively, I felt like we did everything we had to do to win that game. And, in the end, I think we won it as 45-41. So it was a close game. They made runs, but we answered every run they threw at us.
Then you go to the Final Four. You draw a Liberal team at 25-5 coming into that contest. You get a 30-point victory there, and then you take on a little bit of a surprise team making that run in Northeast Cairo. They had to get through Meadville and some of those teams. What did you know about Northeast Cairo going into that game, and where were you successful and coming out on top in that contest in the state championship game?
Yeah. So we didn't know a whole lot about them. I try to really focus on the team that we're going to play in the semifinal. My assistant coaches, I asked them to kind of start some information. Aaron Murphy and Dustin Skoglund, they'd looked ahead a little bit just in the what if factor. They'd looked at both Delta and Northeast once we found out what when the Final Four was set. But ultimately, my main focus was on Liberal, and Liberal's a little bit different than what Northeast was, because Liberal, they get the majority of their offensive production from maybe 3 players, or that's what we figured out on film. And I felt like the girls, we prepared and talked about, we need to give help, in these situations. Preparing for Northeast was a little bit different because they get their scoring from so many different players. They have so many players that are aggressive offensively to start and then come off the bench and are aggressive. So we just knew that, at any moment we needed to be ready to help our teammate. And our defensive scheme and philosophies built on protecting the lane and trying to keep, teams from getting that penetration and trying to contest every shot. And I really feel like, we didn't turn Northeast over a whole lot. That's not really the style of defense we play. But I feel like most every shot they took was contested, and that just comes down to the effort that these girls are willing to put on the defensive side of the basketball. And offensively, it was a story of 2 different halves. In the first half, we were pretty much in control. They had chosen one of our players to not guard, and they sagged that her man back in the lane was trying to double team Maggie Collins, and we'd seen just teams do this in various ways. Some have double teamed her with the zone. Some have played combo defense like box and 1 or triangle and 2. So we'd really been tested in that area. And the message is that, whoever, if they choose not to guard one of you, we still take the shots within our system. You're still ready to shoot it. You need to be a confident shooter. And ultimately they chose Maya Ray, and they played off of her, and she was able to hit some shots in the first half that got them out of that style. And the second half was just different. They just tried pressuring us the whole length of the floor, and really turned up the defensive intensity. And fortunately, we were able to withhold that run that they made and hold them off in the end. I think they cut it to 4 late third quarter, but we were able to extend and got the 12-point win. So just really proud of these girls. We talk about all the time that teams are going to make runs at you. Better teams answer those runs, and I really feel like that's what happened in the state championship game.
We've got your 4 seniors there sitting in front of you. Start there with Christina and tell us a little bit about her, and we'll visit with her.
So Christina, here to my right, she's a 4-year player. She's a player who early in her career, I believe it was her freshman year, she found herself battling injury and really, struggled to get any rhythm on the floor, but she's a player that stuck with it and kept working hard. And throughout her career, she worked harder sophomore year and helped us, in the practice setting. Her junior year, she really found herself in the rotation, but just kind of as a role player. She would guard inside out. I feel like Tina had the capability to guard, a quicker defender or a quicker player on the perimeter, as well as, someone in the post. And that's primarily offensively. That's where she spent a lot of her time, was in the post. And she's probably a little bit undersized for that position, but she works hard and, works smart and, just kept improving. This year, this year she stepped up for us in huge ways, especially after we lost Briley Angle, the ACL. Tina came up with huge in some games, and she just kind of did it all. She rebounded for us. She hit shots for us. She, played defense for us. She just did a lot of things, the right way to help us win games.
Christina, how are you today?
Good.
Good. Tell Coach talked a little bit about how your role changed from last year to this year, and then had to change again. Once you got into the year, kind of talk about that and what were the challenges there from changing roles.
Yeah. So last year I kind of just came in, and like Pearson said, I was able to help on the defensive side more, and then I knew that coming into senior year we were losing some of those defensive players, and I was going to have to work in the off season to be able to really help out the team this upcoming basketball season. And so once basketball came along, I kind of played my role. I was able to help defend outside, inside, and I always guarded Maggie in practice, and so I gained a lot of skill there on the defensive side guarding posts. And I knew coming in that I was going to have to probably guard a post, and that was going to help me out a lot. And then after we lost Briley, I knew I was going to have to take more of a lead there on the offensive side, losing Briley being one of our main scorers. And so I had to help out where I could, whether that be the assist or being a threat, doing it. And I was able to do that for my team and help us on that postseason run.
What was the most fun part about the weekend?
Probably getting to eat and sneaking into the hot tub.
Okay. All right. When the buzzer went off to end the game and you realized that you were state champions, what went through your mind?
It was great to have all of our hard work pay off and be there with my best friends and these girls. It was just so unreal. I'd seen them go through it. I'd seen my sister go through it, and getting to experience it myself was just amazing.
When you get back to school, what's it been like around school now that you're walking around the halls and you're a state champion?
Well, we've been fortunate enough to do it the past couple of years, but knowing that I really made an impact this year feels pretty great, and people know the hard work that we put in basketball season.
Now, being a senior, do you have any plans for next year, academically or athletically?
Yeah, I plan to go to college, pre-med track, probably play some intramural sports, but nothing too fancy.
All right. Well, Christina, on behalf of the Missouri State Highway Patrol and Chevrolet, congratulations on being part of the Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athletes of the Week.
Thank you.
All right. And next, I believe we have Maggie.
Yep. So Maggie Collins, she found out today that not only was she named for the fourth time as All-State, she is Class 1 Missouri Player of the Year. So I think that's pretty awesome. But her career is just, where do you start? But she's got over 1,800 points for her career. She's got over 1,000 rebounds for her career. She's been a 4-year impact player for us. Just early in her career, she's always scored for us and always rebounded for us, but just has always been an unselfish player and unselfish. She's a very willing passer. She's always looking for her teammates, and it makes it really nice when teams are double and triple teaming your all-state center, that she's willing to make a good pass to her teammate and has the trust in her teammates to make that pass to them so they can be successful too. But can't say enough great things about Maggie. Her work ethic in the weight room and at every practice, would never be able to complain about her bringing 100% every night. So I just think she's a player that a lot of younger players need to look up to.
Maggie, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good. And congratulations
Thank you.
on the awards. And we've got a question for you. If you could get in a time machine and go back to Maggie as an 8th grader, based on what you know right now, What advice would you give that 8th grade girl yourself?
I know as an 8th grader, I'd watched previous Jefferson teams and Platte Valley teams experience the state championship, and it honestly, it's just become part of our culture here, and I think a lot of people take that for granted. And I can admit that as an 8th grader, I took that for granted. And I think that once I got to high school, I realized that it's a lot more work and a lot more time than I ever could have imagined. It's such a commitment. And I think I would have just prepared her better for all of that hard work that she was going to have to put in.
What's it like now to have the state championship, and it's got to be even more special being your senior year, your last run at it. What's it like? Does the food taste better now? Are the Coca-Colas colder? What is it?
I think it makes everything better. I mean, I haven't stopped thinking about winning this state championship since we lost that semifinal game last year. I mean, it's been in the back of all of our minds, I think, and we put in so much work in the off season and during season, and to finally just have that accomplishment, I can't even explain how great that feels.
The buzzer goes off. Who's the first person you're looking for?
that one. Like you said, me and her have been fortunate enough to come in our freshman year and make that immediate impact, and I think we've just always had a strong bond on and off the court, and especially with her injury, really just took a toll on a lot of us, but we were able to fight through and get that win for her, and just to be able to end her on the court was amazing.
Outstanding. Well, Maggie, on behalf of the Missouri State Highway Patrol and Chevrolet, congratulations on being part of the Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athletes of the Week.
Thank you.
You bet. And, Coach, now we've got Briley.
Yeah, I forgot to mention one thing about Maggie. She actually signed, and she's going to go play at Northwest, so we'll be able to – she'll just be right up the road for us. We'll be able to watch her play the next few years, and looking forward to that. So Briley here, she's also, like, Maggie and I both discussed, she's a 4-year impact player. We kind of had a joke. We called her Big Shot Briley. Just from the start of her freshman year all the way through, she was making big shots. She had the knack to stay calm in the most adverse situations, and just had the knack to be able to knock down shots in those moments. And I'll always look back to 2022 against Delta. We had given up about a 13-point lead. Delta came storming back, and it's mid fourth quarter, and the game's really tight and close. And Briley just goes off from three. I believe she had 4 3-pointers that quarter. Went 4 for 4 in the quarter, and we go on to win that state championship. And this is her as a sophomore, and we just got more of that from her as her career went on. Midway through the season, her junior year, I moved her from shooting guard to playing point guard, and that was an adjustment for her and the team, but it was something that she was very willing to take on. And she, at that position, she was able to help us grow and improve, and she really helped us. So she's been a ball handler and a scorer for us. Very unselfish. There's times that I'd talk to Briley about looking at the basket more, shooting more, and her comment would be, "Well, Coach, I've got open teammates. I want to find them too." And so, just really appreciate that mentality. All these girls, I could say that about all these girls, but it's pretty special when you have all state players who have that mentality, who look to get they're not all about individual stats. They're looking to get their teammates involved, and Briley was definitely one. She's also a player that she does not lack confidence whenever it comes to maybe the locker room. She had a way of leading her team, and so as the season went on and she suffered the ACL injury midseason, we kind of had to adjust. I mean, and we actually went back and we talked about some of the goals we had at the beginning of the season. Do we think that we can still realize those goals without Briley? And the goal behind that really is, I know kind of the attention that coaches have to pay to the small details in practice to be able to play state championship caliber, level of opponents. And so you got to be pretty particular, and you got to look at things through a fine lens. And if I was going to be doing that, I wanted to make sure the girls still believed. And we had that conversation, and through it all, the girls decided they wanted to go on with those goals, and they felt like they could get there. But Briley, she took it to an all new level leading from the bench. I mean, she was. I have a great assistant coaching staff. I think I mentioned them earlier, Aaron Murphy and Dustin Skoglund, and I, bounce ideas off them all the time. But all three of us were talking to Briley throughout the entire run. From that moment that she wasn't able to be on the floor playing, she sat by the coaches, and we were bouncing ideas off of her and things that she saw as our former point guard, now leading from the bench. And so that was difficult, I guess, just emotionally for all of us to handle, but something that she really stepped up and embraced and took on.
Briley, good afternoon. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I often have opportunities to interview student athletes at the college and high school level who have suffered an injury. And I always like to ask them, during that time, the recovery time, which I'm sure you're still going through,
Yes.
but, I always like to ask them, what they learned about themselves and going through, trying to get back healthy, going through all the things that you have to go through, and also what they learned about the game, because you were now, and Coach talked about this, you were forced to look at it through different eyes. You were looking at it through his eyes or the assistant coach's eyes. And so a lot of times you learn more about it from that. So what did you learn about yourself, and what did you learn about the game during this time?
I feel like from the get-go, right whenever I got hurt, I kind of immediately knew that it was an ACL, but I tried staying hopeful about it until I got the MRI and found out it was officially over. From that day, it was really hard. I just had to deal with the fact that I was going to be done, but I knew that I was still on this team. I feel like I just grew a lot, just having to sit back and deal with those struggles on my own, kind of. I had my teammates to support me, of course, but I had to deal with the mental part of it, of not getting to go down and play in the state games, which I had been wanting to do ever since we lost last year. But I feel like being with these coaches, I just learned a totally new aspect of the game. I always have moments sometimes where I get frustrated with the coaches and never realize, until I got to sit next to them, that their job is just as hard as ours are. So getting to do that was just a whole new experience, and it was great to get closer with the coaches and just get to help these guys get down the state.
What was your favorite part of this season? Obviously, you struggled through it with the injury, but there's got to be points where it really stood out to you, and maybe in the championship game, it may be eating out, like what Christina said. What are moments that you're not going to forget?
I'm definitely not going to forget the state championship game whenever they let me go out there on the floor. That was amazing. These girls worked their butts off down at state, and just getting to go out there and share that experience with them at the end and just take it all in, it was amazing.
Has the injury changed your future? Maybe future plans is maybe what you're looking at going into, or?
Kinda. I hadn't really been sure what I wanted to do in college, but ever since I started doing physical therapy, I thought maybe that could be a route I take. So I've been looking into that, but it hasn't affected any sports or anything. I wasn't really planning on continuing my athletic career, but definitely for academic.
Lost the audio. I can't hear you now. I can't hear any of you.
Really?
Hang on. Give me 1 second here. All right, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you fine. Yeah,
I've got you now. I got you back. All right. I apologize for that, Briley. Things go wrong sometimes on this end. But Briley, again, on behalf of the Missouri State Highway Patrol and Chevrolet, congratulations on being part of the Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athletes of the Week.
Thank you.
All right. Coach, we've got Callie left. Tell us about Callie.
So Callie Redden here to my left. So she's a player similar to Tina. Her early in her career, she was helping and from the practice standpoint and working hard in practice. she really found herself in the rotation her junior year, and sometimes her minutes last year were a little bit sporadic. And she's a player that we talk about in the locker room. After the season's over, and we usually talk about all the seniors, but I think a player that goes through that role where they're having to work and come to practice and keep working, and they're not seeing that playing time on the floor. It can be difficult sometimes, but you just got to keep working. Hello?
I'm here.
Oh, sorry. I thought it cut out. But you just have to keep working and keep improving. And the way Callie stepped up for us here her senior year, just all throughout the course of the season, I definitely know that she was putting the work in that we were asking. Callie's she's a shot maker. I felt like she really gained a lot of confidence in her shot this year. And that's from the work that she put in inside and outside of practice. But she hit some big shots for us. She was able to stretch the floor, and that's what we really needed. Especially, Briley. We talked about Briley being a shot maker her entire career, but especially after we lose Briley, teams really started focusing on Maggie and double and triple teaming her even more. And we're going to need that outside presence, and Callie gave that to us. And one game I'll never forget is we actually played Nottoway Valley during our conference, and we spoke with them about in the district game, but we played Nottoway Valley in our conference game, and it was probably about a week after, maybe a week and 2 days after we lost Briley, and so the team's still adjusting. But Callie had a huge game that night, and it's just a prime example of players stepping up for a team and her teammates in a big game, big conference game, and we were able to go on and win conference 275, and that was just huge in that moment. Callie stepping up and doing what she had to do to help her team.
Kelly, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I am good. Now, as a player, kind of define, Coach talked about your role and how it changed. Why don't you kind of tell us what you felt like your role was and how it changed midway through the season there?
Well, in my freshman and sophomore year, I had that practice role, and I knew that if I put in the hard work, my time would come. And so my junior year, I kind of worked into the rotation, and I kind of just played a role where I had to take care of the ball, and I had to just know when my time was to take those shots. And then my senior year, I was a shooter at the beginning of the year, but then obviously when we lost Briley, she was one of our main scorers, and she shot a lot of threes for us. And I knew that when we lost her, I was going to have to step up, and I'm going to elevate my game to benefit the team.
Looking back on this season, were there games that are going to stand out? Obviously, the state championship game, but were there games where maybe you felt like you've matured in that game where you can go back and maybe it's that 35-21 win over so-and-so? But are there games really that you're going to look back at and say, hey, this was a key game for me and for us as a team?
I definitely think the Nottoway Valley game, for just the regular season Nottoway Valley game, I think that was a game that gave me a lot more confidence. And I think that carried over into the postseason. And then definitely the district championship game, and then all throughout our whole state run too.
When the buzzer goes off and you realize you're state champion, who do you go after first? Who are you looking for?
Nobody in specific, but mainly just these three girls beside me. I've played basketball with them my whole entire life, and it was just a really special moment to look at them and realize, like, we're state champions. It didn't even feel real.
Now, you being a senior as well, do you have any plans for next year, academically, athletically?
No athletic plans. Like Tina said, probably some intramural basketball or softball, stuff like that. But I plan to go to nursing school and become a nurse.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, again, I greatly appreciate you helping set this up. And sorry about that little technical issue we had right there in the middle, but all's well that ends well. And again, it's been a pleasure to follow you guys, and it was genuinely a pleasure to get to meet you face to face, so to speak. here today and get to visit with you and hear your stories. But thank you so much.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you too, and we really appreciate what you and the Missouri Sports Network are doing for the game of basketball in Missouri.
You bet. You bet. One final question, because I'm a mandated reporter. Do you wear your seatbelts all the time?
Yes, of course.
All right. You're watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe. Be smart.